Well, hello guys, I hope everyone's doing okay. Thank you very much for tuning in on today's video. As you might have guessed already, we're going to be continuing with this allotment renovation because there's still quite a lot to do. But before that, a very brief recap is probably in order. As many of you know, this is actually my mother-in-law's allotment, which used to look a little bit like this. It was very unproductive and quite overgrown, so since this day we've been down and built some raised beds that still need filling, but this is going to make things a lot easier going forward when it comes to growing a lot more produce. And using the power of AI, I've managed to create a picture of what this allotment might look like in the not too distant future. Although in all probability it is not going to look as neat and tidy as this picture. Now unfortunately for me, when I filmed this video I was still very much in the midst of a COVID infection. It made me feel really rough for quite a few weeks, and I even lost my sense of taste, although considering my mother-in-law's cooking, this is probably a good thing. And with that in mind, I'm going to try and get some crops in today that will be both weird and wonderful, possibly things you've not seen or heard of before, but let's find out in the comments section later. But now I'm going to get cracking and I will speak to you later on in the video. Thank you very much for watching. So the first plants I'm going to get in today are 3 different varieties of honeyberry. And any viewers that live in extremely cold places like Canada or Siberia or even northern parts of Japan will probably be familiar with these. This is because they are insanely hardy when it comes to really cold temperatures, although they don't do that well in baking heat. The reason I want to grow them is because I really love tough plants. And these are also going to be a bit better than blueberries on a nutritional front, although I love blueberries too. These are just easier to grow. And when it comes to planting technique, it doesn't need to be any more complicated than digging a hole and putting the plant in, although I will water these in, and I will also break off some of the roots on the bottom parts of the plant just to encourage fresh new root growth. I don't have to worry about the soil or compost because I know this soil is pretty good. Which is another way they pip blueberries to the post, because blueberries really need an ericaceous soil, which is soil that's on the acidic side of the scale, whereas these are a lot less fussy. And beyond that you don't have to worry about much other than I will probably install some bird netting, possibly some child-proof netting, just so I can actually get a chance to try some of these berries before my kids steal the whole lot. Now the next plant on the list I'm going to get in is another super berry. This one, aronia berry, better known as the choke berry where it's grown. Not very often grown in the UK, but I'm going to give this one a go. I've never actually eaten them before, but again they look fantastic on a nutritional level. They're also extremely hardy, so these will withstand temperatures low as -30. They'll pretty much grow in any soil type. It'll tolerate very poor soil and very wet soil. They're self-fertile. They're going to get lots of berries on eventually, and they're really pest and disease resistant, so that ticks all of the boxes for me. Which brings me on nicely to my first gardening tip, beyond taking a pencil sharpener to work with you, and that is to label all of the plants that you plant, even the shrubs, and make sure you label them with the cultivar, because one day you may want to take cuttings off of it and you will want to know what it is. And when I say cultivar, for anyone not knowing what that means, is simply the plant I've just put in. It's Aronia berry, and the cultivar is Viking. Which brings me on nicely to my next gardening tip, is don't do what I do and write your labels in pencil. Use a little marker pen. That's far more likely to not wash off in the rain. Although I do find pencil lasts for about a year, so for bedding plants that's totally fine. And for the third and final berry planting today, this one is a Josta berry. Now this one is a far more modern plant than the other two. Being a hybrid between a gooseberry and a blackberry, this one is also quite hardy and it will tolerate most soil types, but will like it a little bit more fertile than the other two. It's thornless and self-fertile, but the main reasons I chose this plant was it just sounded really interesting and it was on offer. Right, so it's definitely time I got these strawberries in finally, because they've been waiting in my garden for about 6 months. Now I'm quite sure I don't need to introduce strawberry plants to anybody. Needless to say, out of all the beds in this allotment, this one is probably going to produce most money's worth of fruit. Strawberries are insanely expensive and not that tasty when you buy them from a supermarket, so the only solution is grow them yourself. Now my granddad always used to say, when I would ask him what I should grow in the allotment, he always used to say, grow what you're going to eat and grow what is the most expensive to buy, and this one ticks both boxes. And I'm not the sort of gardener that ever takes a very firm stance on anything, but if you have not tasted a strawberry straight off of the plant while it is still warm from the sun, then you have no idea what a strawberry tastes like. And I can tell you for nothing, not one of these strawberries when they fruit next year will ever see the inside of a fridge. So I was really lucky to come across a website that sells heritage varieties of seeds. Now that is just my cup of tea. So I'm actually going to get some peas and beans to get overwintered in this bed. Now both of these varieties are suitable for autumn planting, so I'm going to get these in the ground and then I'm going to build a clotch around this with some fleece on, and that will just keep the frost off of these, and these plants will get a really good head start next year, and this means that the ground is going to be a little bit more productive. The next job on my never-ending allotment list of jobs is to lift up all of this turf, and then I'm going to sow new grass underneath. This might seem a little bit crazy, but the ground is really uneven, so what I need to do is lift up all this grass. I'm going to dump that in the raised beds, and I'm going to dump it face down. This will stop it from regrowing, or at least that's the plan. And then I'm going to sow some nice new seed over this once I've raked it out a little bit flatter. Flatter? More flat? Flatter. Help me out here, somebody. Well guys, that's almost it for today. Thank you very much for joining me in the allotment, and hopefully I will be back to 100% soon and we can actually get some real work done helping somebody out in their garden. And for all you garden lovers out there who have currently joined my email list, I apologise that the first monthly newsletter has actually been delayed, but I will have that out to you very soon. And if you haven't joined the email list yet, please do so. I think you might find it quite interesting and informative with a little bit of entertainment thrown in there. I'm going to end this video with a little garden quiz, so if you can tell me what this plant is, you will win, well, you won't win a prize actually, but you will win my undying respect and adoration. So take a good look at this plant and please drop me a comment if you know what it is.